Greetings from the Crust Event Center on the campus of Wisconsin Green Bay. I'm Greg Hofer. My next guest is a former Purdue Boilermaker, a national championship coach at Florida Southern. He's now entering his 15th year as a head basketball coach, his second with the GB men's basketball program. He is Linc Darner. Linc, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Now I want to start at the very beginning. A couple of sisters. You grew up in Indiana, a couple of sisters, one that played in Indiana State, a younger brother that played at Appalachian State. Everybody in Indiana must play basketball, and you come from a great basketball family.
Yeah, that's kind of the way you do it in Indiana, is play basketball. But, growing up in a basketball family with my dad being a high school coach in Ohio, and then moving to Indiana at the start of my freshman year, my dad kind of wanted to get over there and coach in what was kind of the hotbed of high school basketball at the time, Anderson, Indiana. And I remember my first game as a freshman playing on the JV team. We played the Marion Giants, who had won the state championship the last couple years. And for warm-ups for the JV game, there were 7,200 people there. So that was kind of my first introduction to Indiana basketball. But my sister went on to play at Indiana State, my brother at App State. And, my dad won a couple state championships at Indianapolis Pike. After we graduated, he went to Pike and won a couple state championships there.
Highland High School, Madison County, 53 points in one game. You averaged 24 a game. Obviously a big event there, and you had a very, very good high school career.
Yeah. The 53 points actually came in a 2-point loss. So we missed a layup at the buzzer to send it into overtime. I might have been able to score a few more, but I had a great career at Anderson and playing at Highland. And the great tradition of Anderson basketball at the time when I was there was, it was every game was on the radio, every game was on TV. The high school coaches in the area had 2 coaches shows during the week about the high school basketball. It was like really playing at a mid college to high major college basketball. Anderson Indians, they sold about 7,500 season tickets at the time. And, when you played Anderson, you got 10,000 every night. And it was an unbelievable experience getting to play for my dad.
And you had a lot of team success, a couple of conference championships. You were rated in the top 20. So you played on some pretty good teams, too.
Played on some real good teams. In my senior year, we had a really good team. We just got beat on it. We hit a shot at the buzzer the night before to beat Madison Heights, and we had to turn around and play Anderson, and they hit a shot at the buzzer the next night to beat us. And then they went on to the state tournament, got beat in the semifinals. But it was a great high school career, and we played on some very good teams.
So after high school, you end up at Purdue West Lafayette, just 90 miles from your hometown. I'm guessing that was a big reason why you ended up at Purdue, because with your career, you probably had some options.
Yeah, Purdue, going to play for Coach Katie was a great decision for me. I loved my time at Purdue, and one thing I wanted to do was stay close to home. Get far enough away, but be close enough that my parents could come and watch me play for everything that they did for me, growing up. I didn't want to, at that time, there wasn't ESPN3 and all that, so, the games weren't broadcast all over like they are now, to where kids can go anywhere and their parents can just sit down and watch them on the computer. But, an opportunity to go play in the Big Ten, and at that time, I think the Big Ten was the best conference in the country.
Yeah, you played in a great era of Big Ten basketball. Indiana, during your time, to the Final Four. You guys went to the Elite Eight. Bob Knight, Coach Katie. Really a great experience, I'm sure. Very
intense rivalry at the time. Ohio State was very good with Jimmy Jackson, and then of course you had the Fab Five. Kind of started the trend of the baggy shorts at that time. They came in my sophomore year, and we had some great battles with them. And actually, my senior year, we beat them. Glenn Robinson hit a shot at the buzzer, or with about 5 seconds left, to beat them at third place, to tie them at that time for the Big Ten lead. And then we won our last game against Illinois, and they got beat by Northwestern, so we won the Big Ten outright and got the #1 seed, and made a great run and got beat in the Elite Eight by Duke.
Mackey Arena, I've only seen it on TV. Had to be a great experience playing there. It looks like a great environment.
It was unbelievable. 14,123 every game we stepped out on the court, and what a great home court advantage it was, and we had great fans there at Mackey.
The first time you meet Coach Katie, I was always fascinated by him. He always had that intense scowl on his face. How was it playing for him?
Oh, it was an unbelievable experience. The great thing about Coach Katie is everybody saw him on TV and they think he's, this mean old guy that all he does is yell and scream at you. But he was a great teacher. The way he built teams and molded teams, and the things that he got out of players, I don't know if many other coaches could do what he did. I mean, winning all the Big Ten championships that he did, and probably not having as talented teams as other people had. You know, and that's one thing that I think I take a lot of pride in, is I think my teams have consistently got better over the course of the season. Maybe at the beginning of the year we're not as good as, you know, we are by the end of the year, but I think that's a big thing. And I think a lot of times Coach Katie's teams, you know, we lost some games early when I played for him, but he molded us and got us better. And, you know, there isn't a guy that hasn't played for him. If he told you to run through that wall right there, you wouldn't ask why, you would do it, you know, because that was the type of guy he was, and guys loved playing for him.
And every great coach has great assistants. Purdue is no different. When you first got there, Steve Lavin, Bruce Weber, a couple of guys that went on to great careers were assistants under Coach Katie.
Well, that's normally the key to success, is having good assistants. I think any head coach will tell you that. But, you know, Coach Weber, we're going to go play him this next year. He's agreed to let us come there and play him at Kansas State. Will be a great experience. You know, Coach Lavin had great success at UCLA and St. John's, and, you know, had a lot of other great assistant coaches there, Frank Kenrick and Tom Ryder and Jay Price and things like that. Those guys all helped us get better.
And to Coach Katie's legacy, if you take a look at when you were there, Matt Painter, now the coach at Purdue, Conzo Martin, you know, now the coach at Cal, and of course you here at GB, you know, speaks to the legacy and the influence that Coach Katie had on all of you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I got a great opportunity. My fifth year, my senior year, I was close to graduating. I was going to need a class or two in the summer, maybe one in the fall, and Jay Price, who was the assistant coach at the time, came up to me and said, why don't you just drag it out another year and be a student assistant? And I went to talk to Coach Katie, and he was all for it. And, you know, the great thing is that year he let me be an assistant. I mean, I was on the floor. I got to help out. I got to be in all the coaches' meetings, things like that. You know, watch the video with the coaches and put practice plans together. And I learned a lot at that time. And, you know, that had a lot to do with, I think, my success here. And, you know, I think last year, I don't know how many head coaches can say they had 3 guys that played at one time, you know, the same time, take teams to the NCAA tournament. I think that's a great tribute to Coach Katie and what he meant to all of us and our coaching. We all coach a different style. Our style's different than the way Coach Katie, you know, we played at Purdue, but the one thing is I think there's a lot of things that we do similar to what we did back then in practice that we do now.
And after 8 years as an assistant, you land your first head coaching job, St. Joe's Division II in your home state of Indiana. Looking back now, after 15 years, going into that first job, moving one seat over, what advice would you give to you know, yourself, knowing now what you didn't know then?
Well, I think when you take over a program and you become a head coach for the first time, you make a lot of mistakes and you learn a lot. And I think, you know, my first head coaching job, every time we got beat, you know, we would try to change something. And I think now the best advice I have is to stick with what you know and do what you feel comfortable doing. And that's what I've done since I've taken over my next 2 jobs at Florida Southern, and this past year at Green Bay, is, you know, do what you believe in and believe that will work. And if you stay with it and stay on course, it's going to work. And, you know, that's the advice I would give.
After 4 years at St. Joe's, you move on to Florida Southern and take over another downtrodden program. You know, your first year you go 8-20, and it concludes 9 years later at 36-1 with a national championship. Pretty impressive turnaround, not only at St. Joe's but Florida Southern as well.
Well, yeah, my last year at St. Joe, we actually went 31-3, and we were number 2. And the bad thing in Division II is your region is who you play in the NCAA tournament. So we got to play Southern Indiana again for the 3rd time, who's a top 10 team in the country, and the ball just didn't bounce the right way. I think a lot of times the win in the NCAA tournament or the conference tournament, the ball's got to bounce the right way. I got a 90% free throw shooter down 2 with a minute left, and he goes and misses both free throws. He had never missed two before in his life. But then going to Florida Southern and taking over a very historical program. Florida Southern is one of the top Division II programs, I believe, in the country. And, you know, for some reason they had a little bit of a struggle. And our first year putting the system in and getting it to where we wanted, we did struggle a little bit. One of the big reasons is our point guard got mono. Ryan Rayfield, a guy that was my director of basketball ops this past year, and we played without a point guard all year, and we lost a lot of close games, but we put the foundation in, and from there then we saw the success take off. And, had a great run, had some great players play for me, worked for a great administration. And I think those are all the keys. Had great assistant coaches. All the guys that work for me now at one time or another were assistants with me at Florida Southern. And, and that's probably why I'm sitting here, is because we did win the Division II National Championship my last year.
Yeah, you parlay that into the gig here with GB, and a 20-year NCAA tournament drought. Had to be a pretty memorable first year.
Oh, it was unbelievable first year. I think I'm still up in the clouds on it a little bit, what we were able to accomplish. And, I give a lot of credit to our guys. They stuck with the game plan. It didn't start out great at the beginning of the year, and we had a lot of ups and downs. And we talked to them about how do you handle adversity, and playing 10 out of 12 on the road in the middle of the conference season is not an easy thing to do. And we found a way to battle through and go 6-6 at that time. And the one thing I talk to our players about is we get to the end of the year, we play 5 in a row at home. We're going to be the hottest team going in the conference tournament. Nobody's going to want to play us. And I think our guys got believing in that. And we won 4 out of 5. We lost to Valpo, the last game senior night on a shot at the buzzer. But I think after that game, our guys were like, hey, if we get to play them again, we can beat them. And I think they went into the Valpo game when we played them in the semifinals knowing, hey, we can beat these guys. And it was an unbelievable run. And, just so happy for our two seniors, Jordan Faust and Carrington, because they had been so close, the last couple of years. And just getting over the hump, it's not easy to do. Ball's got to bounce the right way. And, to see how excited they were to go play in the NCAA tournament, and, how excited the town got behind us and everything. And now we've caused high expectations for the future.
And that was going to be my next question. A head coach always has a big picture plan, get competitive, get to 500, compete for the conference. Well, you kind of exceeded expectations in year 1, so how does that affect year 2 moving forward?
Well, I think the biggest thing is everybody kept asking me how many games do you guys think you'll win, and I just said our biggest goal is just to get better throughout the year. And I felt we did that, and I never put a win total on anything. I think one thing we do is we do talk about success, and we do talk about wanting to win and wanting to play in the NCAA tournament. I did that from day one with our guys, and did I think at the time we could, last year at this time after a week into summer school and workouts, I would have said you're crazy if we could get to the NCAA tournament. But our guys believed in it, and we're preaching the same thing. We want to get back there. I think if you don't set high goals for your team, and you don't set high goals, individually as a player or as a coach, then what are you shooting for? And that's our goal. Is we want to play well in the Horizon League and finish towards the top. But let's hit reality right now. The Horizon League's a one-bid league, and you got to go into the conference tournament, and you got to play well, and you got to win it. And I think one thing about us is we play a little bit different style. That teams don't want to play us when you have to play back-to-back games. And I think that's one reason we had the success we had this past year is, we got, played Wright State, who was in the same boat as us. And I think, with our depth and the way we played, it was a big advantage for us in the championship game.
And lastly, just in terms of coaching philosophy and style, obviously you play an up-tempo style, frenetic pace, and in-your-face defense. Where did that ultimately come from in terms of developing that style?
Well, I just think over the years of watching and, getting, just working with different coaches. I worked for a guy, Roger Lyons at Ashland University, who played the up-tempo pace, and I really fell in love with it. And, I've always said if I ever became a head coach, I wanted to, give a guys a lot of confidence and a lot of freedom in playing. I think it's a great way to play. And, just watching different teams. I loved watching Arkansas play back when I played, and all the trapping and the pressing that they did, and just every year trying to pick up different things. And then when I became a head coach, as an assistant, you can make suggestions. The head coach doesn't always listen to you, but that's part of growing as an assistant, I think. And when I took over, I put my own blueprint in, and I've changed it from year to year. But one thing that we've always stayed consistent is we've always played very fast on offense. We don't try to shoot in a certain time on the shot clock like a lot of people believe. We try to get a good shot. And then I've always picked up full court defensively. And, this year, if you'd have told me before the year we were going to lead the nation in steals, I would have thought you were crazy. And we turned over some very good teams this past year. That's one thing that we were able to do with our pressure. And we didn't really do a ton of trapping, but we could turn teams over. We had some guys that were very good, and Jordan and Carrington at stealing the ball. Carrington is as good as anybody I've coached at picking. Guys off the dribble, and Jordan's as good as anybody anticipating passes and where they're going. And that'll be a big thing for us to replace next year is, them on the defensive end, because both of them ended up being first, all league defensive players.
Well, I appreciate the time, Coach. Thanks, and best of luck to you and the Phoenix this upcoming season.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. That's Coach Linc. Our thanks to him for his time, and until next time, this is Greg Hofer saying thanks for watching.